If you'd like to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button to stay on top of the market news. Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMtrading. Today's June 25th, 2020, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the markets tumble across the board. Both the indices, the stocks, and commodities all get clobbered yesterday. But first, let's take a look at the different sectors. So as we mentioned yesterday, there is no major economic event scheduled for today. But as we look at the different sectors, we're going to first start out with the currencies. The US dollar strengthens versus the major pairs as the Dow Jones tumbles over 700 points yesterday, with the NASDAQ as well, as weakness overtakes the market. Now looking at the commodities as well, oil and gold both take a hit as well, hitting from there and receding from their highs. And lastly, looking at the stocks, all record high stocks reverted as profit takers take the state of the event. Okay, so this is quite natural. And number one, we are in summer trading, so it's lighter volume, so there's not that follow through that we expected. And number two, these are record highs in a pandemic environment that we're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow in terms of re-lockdowns as this virus continues to surge. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trade. So we're taking a look at the Euro USD at a 4-hour chart, and pretty much this is what was expected. We hit a high of right before we recoiled and took a little bit of a retake. Okay, we hit a high of 1339, close to our resistance-ish level, and boom, that was a beautiful retracement over almost 100 pips, 90 pip retracement there as this, pushed it higher, then recoiled. Now looking at the GBP USD as well, we had the same story as this pushed to 25.39 and then retracing it over 100 pip retracement. Now what's interesting here, okay, is that the Rand really contained its weakness versus the dollar and actually broke its trend line on the upside. Okay, this was a downwards trend line that we were correcting all the way down to 1717ish level, and now we've rallied above this trend line. So if we do decide to retrace, I would use this trend line as a possible retracement. Okay, now relatively we're still in a tight range. Okay, you see that we're at that upper limit of the range. Okay, if we take a range just to show you right there, 1746 is that level. So really, for it to be a bona fide correctional move that will be back in the 18-ish level, it has to break above 1746, and then we hit another resistance at 1785. So this may still retrace as the markets make a correction today. Okay, now today's going to be a vital day, and the reason that's going to be is because after the stocks kind of sold off, the market sold off, if there's no one going to be picking it up, then it's a bona fide downwards trend. Okay, so right now it's not a downwards trend, it's just a correctional move, but that could still happen. Looking at gold, we retraced down to 1762, away from our 1778-ish high, okay, which is natural. I mean, people are taking their profits off the table as this is hitting new highs and the volatility continues. And what's striking about it is that we're still in light volume. Okay, so there's volatility, there's light volume, not a good combination. You want volatility with high volume so that there's follow through. Now looking at oil as well, we recoiled to $37 a barrel. Couldn't sustain that $40, and that $40 psychologically is very important. Now we are hitting a minor supportish area right here, so something to consider. If it doesn't break, we may bounce off of these areas right there in a possibility where we can correct ourselves. So I would keep a very sharp eye. Now, if this corrects itself, then the Dow Jones will also correct itself. September Dow Jones contract trading at 25,238, down from a high of 26,200-ish level earlier this week. Okay, high 200-ish level where we hit on Tuesday. So with that said, okay, this has been a really big correction in the Dow Jones, and it's a little bit disconcerting because, as I mentioned earlier, some of the big bellwether stocks are making new highs in the year, okay, all-time record new highs, and the Dow Jones didn't go higher, and this was the one to short. Okay, you look at JP Morgan, also the one that was weaker to short. So beautiful market conditions for trading, and really that relative strength, relative weakness really coming through. Looking at the NASDAQ, okay, this is really very important to note because we hit a high of 10,290. We couldn't sustain it, okay, and once we broke it, We broke the 10,000 mark, okay, which is an important mark. We're just trading shy of that. And like I said, okay, this is a supportish area, so I would look for a bounce here. Okay, if we don't get this bounce, we could see further selling off, especially since the pandemic is resurging in certain US states to levels that were back in March, okay, which is very scary. Okay, there's a lot of confusion in the market as to the nature of the resurgence, okay, the second wave, whether or not it's a weaker strand of the original coronavirus. I leave that to the experts, and I'm just watching the charts and making sense of what I can understand the markets are going to respond to it. Okay, so looking across the board, Apple, which hit all-time new highs, 371, recoiled down to 359. Amazon as well, which hit 27.87, recoiled down to 27.32. So these are profit takers. This is not a correctional move yet. This is not a bona fide correctional move yet, but something to consider. Now, Microsoft hit above $200 a share to 203. That was the high. And we're right now at that supportish level, 197. So today's going to be a very, very important day as to whether this will be correcting itself on the upside or making further corrections on the downside. And then we'll have a clearer picture for a bona fide downwards trend going into the latter part of the summer. So really very important to keep your eye on the markets today. Now, I mentioned lastly the JP Morgan, and JP Morgan yesterday was just dead throughout the day. We traded as high as $98 and then selling off to 94. Now, this is a tight range to tell you the truth, but if this builds up momentum on the downside, I'd be much more inclined to see that it tests its low of $80 a share. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but something to keep in mind because this has been really very weak. And the reason the bank stocks have been very, very weak is simply because they represent really the pulse of the market. The high-tech stocks are not the average part of the market, right? They're only one sector of the market. Yes, they're a major sector of the market, but they don't represent the overall picture of the market where the bank stocks really do. Okay, it really represents how much people are borrowing, how much the banks have confidence to lend money, and that's really where you want to focus most of your attention at. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day.